This is what we have seen with many of the stalwarts, many of the uh, religious people, many of the saintly people who have come and demonstrated how to live our life, like Ramana Maharshi, like Satya Sai Baba, like Shirdi Sai Baba, like Jesus Christ. All of them went through extremely painful situations, which they wholeheartedly embraced and accepted, and just to live life, just to demonstrate to people how you can live life righteously, how you can live life with love. When you love yourself, your body heals. This is something that I discovered when about 13 to 14 years ago, when I was bitten by a Russell's viper. The venom had spread into my body and I had pain in my kidneys. It's a hemotoxin which causes bleeding in the liver and the kidneys. So the pain had spread to the kidneys. I was having back pain. The doctor gave me an antivenom and then asked me to get admitted in a hospital closer to my home so that I can get my liver function test and kidney function test done every 2 hours so that I don't bleed to death. So I make sure that I'm recovering. Well, I chose to come closer to my house and got myself admitted in a hospital. And the doctors in the hospital, they took my discharge summary, which was given by the doctor who administered the antivenom, and put it aside. And I was in the ICU. After some time, close to midnight, my bladder was full and I had to go and empty my bladder. As I tried to get out of bed, my body was completely unstable. My hands and legs were moving in all possible directions. My body was wobbly. It seems like it was like a unstable bubble. But still I managed to go to the bathroom, empty my bladder and came back feeling even more horrible. When I lay down on the bed, the doctors, they put a blanket over me. So I told them, I don't need the blanket. And they said, let it be. So I wanted to ask them, what do you mean by let it be? I'm not feeling cold. At that time, I realized that I had an IV line which was running through me, and I asked them, what is this? And they told me, antivenom. Well, I just realized that I was on an overdose of antivenom. My body had gotten into a reaction because of the antivenom. And that was that. And now I had about 6.5 hours to live. And that's when love is what happened. I chose to look at those 6.5 hours instead of getting anxious, instead of running away, instead of feeling fear. I chose to live those 6.5 hours. So second by second, as the time neared the deadline of 6.5 hours, I chose to love myself more and more, accept this existence more and more, just as it would unfold. The 6.5 hours passed, and then 12 hours passed, and 3 days passed. But my finger, where the Russell's viper had bitten, had turned stark white, as if it was in formalin, of how you would see dead tissue in formalin. It was stark white. That's how my finger was. It was after 2.5 years of practicing loving myself unconditionally that prana finally decided to flow through the finger that was affected, and I was completely healed without amputation. A Russell's viper bite usually leads to amputation of that particular part of the body. But for me, I completely healed only because I decided to love myself unconditionally. This is how powerful the body is. I have come across several cases where just by helping them love themselves, I've seen how their bodies have accepted the condition, the congenital disorder, and they have lived life beautifully, including a person who has got a ventricle septal defect, a hole in the heart, who came to me with blue eyes, with blue tongue, blue nails, frail 28-year-old, her husband brought to me as if she was an 80-year-old woman, but simply helping her love herself and accept the condition. She was seeing a cardiologist who had told her that her choices were very limited. And with all the medical advice, she came to me, and with this one suggestion of how she could love herself, she returned healthy. And within 2 months' time, she was dancing in her brother-in-law's party for over 2 hours. That is what transformation, that kind of transformation happens when you love yourself. Ask and it is given. When you ask, make sure that you are not asking out of a desire. Ask out of a need. A need is different from a want. A need is something that finds a purpose for its existence in your life. A want is something that you simply aspire for because your mind desires it. It has no place, or rather, it is a misfit in your life. I remember many years ago, there was a Atirudra Mahayajna, which is a worshipping Shiva. It was Mahayajna which happened in Whitefield in Bangalore in Satya Sai Baba's ashram. A lady came to me and told me, I want one of the bricks that was used to worship, or used in making the homakunda or the havan. And so I asked somebody who lives in the precincts of this ashram, and asked her if I could have a brick. And I told her that so and so needs it. She said, of course. And she brought her brick wrapped in her sari, and she said, quickly take it because we have limited ones and we don't want people crowding for it. I brought the brick and then handed it over to this lady. The moment I handed it over, desire accomplished. She asked me, do you want it? I said, no, I don't want it. So she asked me, what do I do with it? I said, I don't know. You are the one who wanted it, and I've got it for you. And she said, well, I don't know what to do with it. Can I keep it in my altar? I said, by all means, I guess you can. So she kept it in her altar, and it just stays wrapped in a cloth under the altar and just occupying dust. So it's very important for you to ask what you need to.